This is the Tree of Life, Season 19, Chapter 1. In this episode, we will be talking about the distinct modalities of the senses, and more broadly about attention, or awareness. The senses form substitutionary relationships between constituent sensations, or impulses within a given set. Often, there are fundamental impulses within these sets, which become arranged dialectically within analog or digital structures. Attention was heretofore described in visual terms. That is to say, that what has in the past been called attention is synonymous with awareness in the case of the other senses. Just as attention, through negation, converts either a digital structure to an analog one, or an analog structure to a digital one, awareness in the context of the remaining senses does the same, to the extent it represents either negation of a rhythm or focusing on an object. The main difference between attention, as described in the context of vision, and awareness, as described through the other senses, is how the negation is framed by the various movements of our body. In the case of vision, attention through negation preserves tension in all the various physical movements of the body, the plates of meaning comprising the face, voice, hands, posture, and location. However, other senses store this tension in distinct plates describing the particular movements of our bodies along a particular avenue or direction. Thus, distinct senses have distinct profiles corresponding to which part of the body or plate stores the tension, which preserves the awareness. Which is not to say that these senses exclusively store that tension in one particular plate, but that they will tend to correspond to the preservation of that tension with preference to particular plates, corresponding to particular movements. Likewise, the lifetime of the corresponding structure in either an analog or digital form is linked to the duration of the negation. Thus, distinct senses may be linked to a particular lifetime arising out of the duration of awareness and the corresponding negation which produces it. Also, distinct senses describe distinct relationships between constituent impulses corresponding to sets, which contain fundamental dialectical pairs. These impulses are largely distinct sets, but retain some association, as between the distinct streams of the senses centered around an object. Similarly, each of the senses possesses a capacity for sorting the impulses by self-consciousness relationally, and by need, albeit less obviously so. Just as a sound can make one self-conscious relationally, or draw attention to a bodily rhythm or cycle. Finally, it is obvious that beyond our awareness, all information is stored within digital structures of an affirmational valence. These digital structures flow into the digital stream, being our awareness, integrated contextually through their linking to parallel analog structures, which are substitutionary. What we have described as substitution events appear to demonstrate misalignment of the sets corresponding to a particular object by context. This misalignment produces at least 4 types of distinct bifurcations. For the reverse substitution events, type 1 involves misalignment of sight and hearing. For regular substitution events, type 2 involves misalignment of sight and smell. Type 3 involves misalignment of sight and touch. Type 4 involves misalignment of sight and taste. Since we saw that distinct sensory modalities preserve tension within particular plates, it may be that these types of bifurcation result from a misalignment corresponding to a particular movement within a particular plate. In the ordinary course, the association, but separation, between sets arising out of distinct modalities is preserved by the particular profiles corresponding to the capturing of tension in particular movements. This means that the integration of all sensory modalities into a single linear stream is a product of the preservation of tension according to a particular distribution or sorting mechanism. That's the end of the podcast for today.